Investing in a SIPP. Everything you need to know. What is a SIPP, and should I choose one for my pension? If you found this video, the chances are you're doing some research into pensions and in particular looking to find out more about SIPPs. That's exactly what I'm here to talk about. I'm Gary and I'm with Moneyfarm here today to explain what SIPPs are, how they work, and their pros and cons so you can weigh up if a SIPP is the kind of pension you're looking for. So what is a SIPP? Well, SIPP stands for Self-Invested Personal Pension. And it's a type of personal pension that gives you much greater control over your retirement savings than typical pensions do. If you think about it, for many people, pensions are something that happen in the background. You pay into them every month, perhaps your employer does too, and they quietly get on with doing their job in the background until retirement gets closer and you start taking a keener interest. A SIPP, on the other hand, is a pension designed for a totally different tribe of people. Those who are comfortable making financial decisions for themselves and want to be hands-on with their retirement savings, choosing what to invest in, when, and how. In other words, they want to be in the driving seat, taking control of growing their future fund to achieve the retirement they want. But what does this look like in practice? Well, a SIPP is a pension, so it comes with all the things that pensions do, which I'll get onto in a moment. But where SIPPs really stand out is investment choice. Many pensions offer a fairly narrow range of options, but SIPPs typically give you access to a much wider universe of investments, similar to what you'd expect in a stocks and shares ISA. This means your pension money can be invested in markets around the world, giving you exposure to different regions, industries, and exciting long-term themes, as well as different asset classes. You'll have a pension that allows you to make the most of opportunities as markets change, whether that's through established economies, emerging trends, or broad areas of global growth. Although obviously this is your future livelihood we're talking about, so do remember that some investments are riskier than others and they can all go down in value as well as up. SIPPs have actually been around for quite a while. They were first announced at the end of the 80s, but in the early days they were really only for people with a lot of money and investment experience, what the finance industry likes to call sophisticated investors. And they also came with pretty hefty fees. But over the years, as the whole pension landscape has changed and advancing technology has made investing much more accessible to everyday people, SIPPs have come into their own and massively gained in popularity. They've also come down in price with lots of so-called low-cost SIPPs around today. So, other than investment choice, what else does a SIPP give you? Well, SIPPs come with all the benefits and restrictions that other pensions do. The big benefit is tax breaks. For context, the UK government is extremely keen for us to get involved with saving for our own retirements, so the state doesn't have to pick up the pieces if lots of us run out of money once we've stopped working. Yes, the state pension is there for those of us who are eligible, but at £12,547.60 a year in 2026 for the full new UK state pension, it's generally accepted that it only covers the basics and doesn't give us a buffer or room for much more in later life. So, to convince us to save our hard-earned cash now, the government gives most of us tax breaks. We're talking 20, 40, and even 45% when we pay into pensions, And this effectively feels like free money. But what does this look like? Well, for every £80 you pay into a pension, the government tops it up by £20. So you end up with £100 in your pension. If you pay £800 in, you get an extra £200 on top, and so on. If you're a higher rate taxpayer, you'll also get another 20% back via your tax return. So that's 40%, meaning a £1,000 contribution into your pension would actually only cost you £600, and additional rate taxpayers get 25% back through their tax return. So that's 45% tax relief in total. For anyone in Scotland, these rates are slightly different. Now, you can't pay a limitless amount into pensions and keep on claiming these great tax breaks. Instead, most of us get an annual allowance each tax year, and this allowance is as much as we earn each year, up to a maximum of £60,000. So if you earn £30,000 a year, you're likely to get tax relief on £30,000. Whereas if you earn £60,000, you'd get tax relief on £60,000. As always, there are a few things to be aware of. Number one, this isn't just a SIPP annual allowance. The annual allowance relates to all pension contributions from you and your employer into any pension that you have, not just a SIPP. Number two, there's something called the carry forward rule, which can allow you to take advantage of any pension allowances that you didn't use from the last 3 years. So in theory, it's possible to pay more than your annual allowance into your SIPP and get tax relief. And number three, higher earners. And here we're talking those with an adjusted income of more than £260,000. They can have their annual allowance reduced to just £10,000 because of something called the tapered annual allowance, which means that for every £2 of income above £260,000, the allowance reduces by £1. Be aware all of these tax breaks and allowances are not set in stone and depend on your personal circumstances. And of course, I also need to mention that with a SIPP, just like other personal pensions, you can't get your money out until you're 55 or 57 from the 6th of April 2028. Okay, so let's weigh up the pros and cons of SIPPs. They are a great investment choice, which I've mentioned already. They let you have control because you decide what to invest in and when, and whether to pay in lump sums or contribute regularly. They can be lower cost, so fewer charges than other pensions, although this isn't always the case. And if you're comfortable taking responsibility for your own investment decisions, they allow you to manage your pension yourself. And then we have the cons. The first one is that if you don't want the investment choice and would rather have a simple pension, then a SIPP probably isn't for you. They can be challenging for inexperienced investors, although platforms like Moneyfarm offer SIPPs where you choose a managed option, which means instead of picking your own investments, you get a ready-made portfolio of investments that are professionally managed to your goals and risk profile. And because with a SIPP, you're generally picking your own investments, you do have to think carefully about investment risk. All pensions are invested, and that comes with some degree of risk. Okay, before I sign off, just a couple of more points about SIPPs. They can be useful for the self-employed who don't benefit from auto-enrollment and employer pensions. And SIPPs are often used by people who are consolidating old pensions. A lot of us have multiple pension pots that we've collected whilst working, and we choose to combine them into one plan to make them easier to keep track of and manage. Although, if you're planning to transfer any pensions, make sure you understand the rules before you do. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and have a look at the description where you'll find more on Moneyfarm and how to invest. Bye.